How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Yes, today we're going to be talking about Concord. Now, you're probably wondering, why am I covering a game that is pretty much dead? And the reason why it was dead is because almost nobody was playing it. And the reason is because something resurfaced recently, early dev build, and I was really curious to see what the models look like and what make the whole thing tick. So that is what we're going to talk about in this video. First, we're going to have a little conversation about what went wrong visually, because that's my area. We're going to talk about a little bit of the environment, the characters, and all that. Also going to mention what went right, and then we are going to get into one of the 3D models for the characters, and we're going to look at a weapon as well, because some people requested that we take a look at the weapons in one of the posts, which this is why you should subscribe, so you're notified of all the things I post. I like to talk about video games. We do it a little bit more on the technical aspect. We explore the 3D models and several parts of what compose and what makes video game function, at least from the artist's perspective. Now, with that being said, let's get started.
Concord like the grave, your legacy is safe as a game that no one played, and a price that no one paid. Boop-a-doop-ba, deep-a-doop-da, scoop-a-boop-ba, beep-beep-beep-beep-beep, phlegm. Concord was about as good as accidentally peeing on your own leg. Rat, 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 rat. Concord's dead. Rat, 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 rat. Concord's dead.
One thing I need to make clear before we move on in this conversation is we need to separate design from quality of the models. See, design is kind of like the vision and what they wanted to portray with the characters and the environment, weapons, etc. And the quality means the asset itself, the model. Is the texture good? Is the UV unwrap good? Is the geometry well defined for a AAA game? Those are the things that we're going to talk about in a little bit, but I just needed to clarify that those things are usually separate. And here's why. When it comes to the design of the character, that's usually defined by the art directors, the higher ups, and it goes into what I keep seeing online saying like, this game looks this way because developers are lazy. 9 times out of 10, it's not because developers are lazy. Developers are some of the most hardworking people. A lot of them go through crunch, and a lot of them that are working in AAA today are very talented. Why? Because the market is extremely saturated with developers, especially now that there have been so many layoffs in the last 3 years. The market is like overcrowded with talent, so only the cream of the crop are the ones that are getting the jobs. And when you see a design that's uninspired, that is bland, that is not appealing, is most likely the fault of somebody higher up, meaning a manager, an art director, a game director, sometimes even the CEO. They decide what goes on. And the character artists, the people that make things happen, they're just being told what to do. They're just being given, hey, this is the concept that we approved, and this is what you're going to make. This is the character that you're going to make. And more often than not, they will make it to the best of their ability. Concord is such an example where you have horrible direction mixed with amazing talent when it comes to the models. I'm going to be using Overwatch to compare, because that is exactly what this game was trying to do. I think this game started development back in the days when Overwatch was at its peak and everybody was trying to do a hero shooter. I would say almost everybody but Overwatch, and very few failed at doing hero shooters because they were a lot. I don't know if you can recall, Lawbreakers was another hero shooter that came out around the Overwatch era that was shut down. It lasted a little bit longer than Concord, but in the end, it was a game that was shut down. Then we had Battleborn from Gearbox, which is another hero shooter that ultimately shut down because there was very little interest. Again, all of these lasted more than Concord. Concord is very specific. But anyways, moving on. What Concord was trying to do is they had a hero shooter. They had heroes with kind of like quirky stuff, quirky abilities. The other thing that was very similar to almost the point of copying Overwatch was their unique point was that they were going to be releasing short films along with new heroes and new maps, which is 100% what Blizzard was doing with Overwatch. Every time we got a new hero, we either got a new short film in the form of kind of like comic panels or a new short film in the form of kind of like 3D animated, Pixar looking, amazing short films, by the way. I love the one for Soldier 76 and Hanzo. For some reason, they also decided to make like Guardians of the Galaxy in there. And the result was, to me, was so weird. Like, for instance, if you look at Overwatch characters, we have somebody like Tracer. You can clearly see what her role in this universe is. She is a quick, agile character. She is dressed as such. She also has that little time thingy in the middle of her chest. We can even look at Soldier 76. Just by looking at the character, you can see that this is your generic first-person shooter character. Has the rifle, has kind of like that soldier military look, square jaw, very muscular. And you can see like the grenades on his belt, even though those grenades are like healing grenades. But everything about him speaks like he is the first-person shooter guy. Right now, when we look at these characters, like, one of the things that I look for first is there a pattern between their designs? And I see no pattern. If you look at characters from Overwatch, you can see that their armor, they all look like it belongs into the same sci-fi universe. Whereas you got this guy that's dressed like this, then the soldier, then this character that Luke Stevens calls a Tupperware character, which I find hilarious, but it looks like it's cosplaying an astronaut with that square thing on the head. And this character is a little trash can. Like, it's just a cylinder with legs and an arm. Yes, it looks like a tank, but it does remind me of those trash cans that like lift the lid. And then you have this or this. This is the one that really, like, I thought it was really weird. Because I think she is sort of like the mage. You can see there it says Wall of Fire. And you can see her robes. Her robes indicate that she is a mage. But then you keep going and she is wearing pants like tracksuit pants and sneakers, like today's sneakers, like running sneakers. So this character, she is supposed to be the healer. What of her tells me she is a healer? You can see her that on her like character chart, she has a healing pad. If you go to Overwatch, you have Mercy and Mercy. You can see that she has the outfit of a nurse and she has the wings of an angel. So what does tell me she is the one that comes and saves the character before the character dies. So it's pretty clear what her role is. This character, reading her outfit, it doesn't tell me what she does in the game unless I read her card. And the other thing is, this character is not appealing. I mean, come on. I know some people would say, well, Overwatch has Roadhog. That's an obese character. But the difference between her and Roadhog is, if you see Roadhog, he looks like a very intimidating character with the mask and the big hook. And look at Roadhog arms. Like, that dude is built like an actual tank. And when you see him close, like, he is much bigger than everyone else. And aside from his big belly, he has huge muscles on his arms that makes you think like this thing can lift a car with one hand. Aside from the obvious that we're seeing in this specific game and in other games too, where they're just checking boxes. Unfortunately, that is one of the things that I see a lot of with this game is the characters, they don't share a pattern that tells me they're in the same universe, because I know this is a space game. Overwatch is on Earth. But still, like, what do they have in common that tells me that they're all like space-faring characters, or at least like mercenaries or whatever you want to call them. Like this dude, yeah, he can be a mercenary, and maybe this guy right here, but like, what does this person do? It looks like she plays some kind of sport. Same thing with this character right here. She looks like it's all decked out in like American football attire. Do you think these two characters are from the same video game? Like this character and this character don't look from the same video game. So can a character design make or break a game? That it's a lot of depends, but I'd say yes. And here's why. When people are deciding whether to play your game or not, usually they see what's the first thing they look at? They look at the main character or the characters that are participating in that world. And they must want to be those characters, want to experience that world as those characters. That is the first things that draw them to play your game. If the player doesn't see themselves or doesn't want to experience the world through the eyes of those characters, they're just not going to pick it up. Being that character, and it has nothing to do with gender, race, or whatever, is just an appealing character. For instance, Stellar Blade. Stellar Blade, very attractive character from the get-go. People see that attractive character and say, hey, I want to try this game. And then they discover this game has really fun gameplay. The story sucks. I know a lot of people that watch my channel do like Stellar Blade, but come on, the story is not good. But the gameplay is really fun. And you have an attractive character that already drew in a big crowd of people to try your game, which is what you want. You want people to come in and want to try your game. Then they can discover the mechanics are really fun and they will stick around. All right, we've been very negative so far. And I want to show you one of the things that I consider that looks really good, which is the maps. The overall assets of this game, I think they look fantastic. The texture work, the geometry overall. I didn't get to play this game, but I think the verticality and all the different places that you can be in these maps, I think they will be for very interesting gameplay, even if it's just a hero shooter. I think overall the environments were well realized, they are well lit. All right, so before we get into the model that I want to show in Blender, it's not this one. I just want to show something that I think it's hilarious. And just so you know, the maps here, the naming convention for the materials is not done by me. This is how they come out of the game. I never changed the naming convention of these. So this thing on her back, it's called the oven. And yeah, because I click on the oven, and if I turn down the alpha, that thing disappears. And then if we click on the pizza material, and we bring down the alpha, it's that thing on her back. So they got the obese character to wear an oven on her back with a pizza inside. Really? Oh man, this game didn't have a chance. All right, here is the character that we're going to look at. Well, mainly because it's a character that managed to get all the materials correctly. Some of the texture maps were like all over the place because again, this is an early build. So you can see one of the things that I talked about in the beginning where she's wearing robes, but she's also wearing like tracksuit pants and sneakers and well, okay, we already talked about design. So let's get into the character. Now you see her textures, and this is why in the beginning I wanted to make that clarification that there is a difference between a quality model and bad design. And here is the prime example of that. You can see that these textures are very good. They are very detailed and they're not like scanned or anything. These are created textures from the looks of it. Because it's realistic, but it's also very colorful. So there's a little bit more saturation, which is something that I personally like. I'm not a huge fan of I like realistic art style, but I'm not a huge fan of the realistic, nitty-gritty, desaturated stuff. Because it looks too much like the real world. So in here, you can see that it has, the colors are pretty nice. They're saturated. It makes a character readable, especially as a first-person shooter. So this is what you will see in third person. So she will contrast, especially with the environments that we just saw. I think there will be a nice contrast, and she's an easy character to read, as are all the others. So as you can see, the geometry is pretty good. Many of the AAA assets that we've reviewed on the channel, the geometry is spot on. Like, look at these polygons. Very, very good. A couple of triangles here and there, but the flow of this is fantastic. Like, the person who made this is clearly somebody talented. This is what I mean by a quality model. It doesn't necessarily mean how dense the model is. It means how the topology is comprised when it comes to how you do character art, how everything is purposeful when it comes to the topology. You can see that, yeah, there's a lot of high detail here in the forearm, but you can see the little bumps on her clothing to create those wrinkles that are also enhanced by the normal maps. You can see the nice loop going all around the face, how the suit and the shoes are comprised, how everything has some nice polygons about it, how that you can see, and this is a good example of how you get all the detail so you can bake down the normal maps and the detail looks great and you got great bakes and you don't have to worry about artifacts later. She also has nice wrinkling on the bottom of her clothes. Another reason why this part of her clothes is so high res is because they're using a mix of chaos cloths and bones for this, because this game was done in Unreal Engine. That's what it creates the nice flow of the cloth, because in game the flowing of all the cloth elements was actually pretty good and was reminiscent of chaos cloth, which is very common used in Unreal Engine, and same with these parts over here. And actually you can see the quality when it comes to the hair here. If we actually turn this on and we get rid of the wireframe, you can see how good the hair flow, even though we're not in the engine, we're here in Blender. I don't have the complete setup of the material for the hair to look properly, but even here, the alphas and the hair cards are so well realized and so well placed that the hair looks good. And if you follow me on Twitter or X, which you should, by the way, link in the description, you've heard me say that sometimes I'm seeing that in some indie games made in Unreal Engine, the hair is not looking great. And it's not the engine, because again, this game is made in Unreal Engine, and look at the hair. The hair looks very good. And if you see it in game, it looks very close to like how a groom would look like. So the hair cards in these characters was particularly good. I'll have a separate video when it comes to the issues that I've been seeing in certain indie games about the hair, which again, I don't understand because it's not the engine. So make sure you subscribe to so you can stay tuned. Now let's go into the UVs. Okay, so we have the UVs for the pants, square UVs. This is an Unreal Engine game. Usually you get square textures occupying the 0 to 1 space. However, you can see here that there are some things thrown to the side, to the next to the 0 to 1 space to save a little bit on real estate. You can see things that are mirrored, like the sole of the shoe and certain parts of the shoe that are mirrored to the other side, just to save a little bit into the 0 to 1 space and make room for a high resolution texture. So if we keep going, one of the things I want to show you is the face, because you know that in this channel we have used a lot of metahumans. In fact, I have a video showcasing how you, even if you're not a game developer, you can create your own metahuman. It's all for free. It's very easy to follow tutorial. And if we go into the face and we select, it's pretty dense by the way, but you can see this is a metahuman base mesh. So whether they use a metahuman to construct this character, which I don't think they did, because the way that she looks, she doesn't look like the metahumans do. The metahumans, even in 5.6, they still have a very particular look that I'm not a big fan of. But then again, these characters, the metahumans, were made so you built on top of them, which I think it's what this game did. Now, when it comes to the hands, you can see how everything looks right here and how everything is laid out. So the hand, as we've seen in previous games, again, you're seeing a pattern of repetition here when we talk about all kinds of games here. Some of them follow a certain standard, and you can see that they seam the hand like right around here. They pelt it out and they mirror it out. So you have very, very good resolution when it comes to the hands. If you haven't watched the Splitgate video, I recommend that because I showed, and that's another Unreal Engine made game, I showed the first person portion, which is just the arms. I'm gonna go ahead, because I didn't find it, I'm gonna go ahead and assume that they're using the same arms and they're not using a different LOD, because this is quite dense enough that if she is doing the first person thing, so not only is this character being used for third person, but I think she is also being used for first person because how dense the hand portions are. So when you have them in front of the camera, you want those hands to look very, very high res. That way your player doesn't see any artifacts, any jaggies, or anything like that. And again, that's a mark of a high quality AAA game. The fact that they could do something like this that is very dense. And from what I hear, the game still had very good performance. Performance was not a complaint that I heard about this game, to be honest. Now, if we go back into like how big this character is, she is 154,000 polys, well, 154,700, which is the standard for like kind of like the AAA industry. We've seen the Marvel Rivals characters are a little bit higher than this, but this is pretty much the standard that we have today. All right, so some subscribers asked me to take a look at the weapons, and here it is. It's one of the weapons. This is a weapon for the Renegade. Of course, the material shader is not completed because we are in Blender. We are not in Unreal, although I do have all the maps. I don't have the way to recreate the Unreal Engine shader as they had it inside the game. But I just wanted to show you how good this gun looks. Look at the textures. Look at the texture detail. Look at the detail from the normal maps. That being said, this gun, because this is how you're going to see it, you can see that there's a lot that is modeled. And if we look at the wireframe, yeah, we do have some triangles, but it doesn't matter because this is a hard surface object. But you can see that this is pretty dense. If we grab this whole thing, it's almost 40,000 polygons just for the weapon. So, well, maybe with this magazine on the back, but I think it's an extra mag for animations. But other than that, I think this looks pretty good. Very high quality. A lot of things models because this gun is going to be on the face of the player just in front of the camera. So you need to be able to see those details without having to rely 100% on normal maps, even though there are some normal maps here and there for some rivets, for some little detail of the gun, the part where you hold it. You can see the material differentiation around here with the painted metallic parts, the barrel of the gun. You can see this part right here, which is very usual for guns or for things that have metals that have a lot of fire in there. You can see how everything was done very, very well. And I do love how this gun looks. The scope very chunky. And overall, yeah, for me, these guns are very, very good quality. So after everything we've seen on this video and the early build that's been going around, and with some people saying that this game is going to come back because of people are working on it, is this game really coming back? I'd say no, because if this game were to come back, they need the actual final build, not the early build. There's a lot of stuff that's missing from this early build, like textures, and yeah, you could rebuild it, but it's going to be a huge effort. And even if Sony allows it, I don't know. I don't think it's going to happen. So is Concord dead? Yeah, Concord is dead. I'll see you in the next one.
That's the sound he made when Concord passed away. I wish things things turned out different, but either way I'm getting paid. Concord's day, Concord's day, and boy is my face red. When the game came out, everybody